The first time I realised my family saw me differently was during a thunderstorm at our lake house when I was 16. While my sister Natasha hosted an impromptu sleepover in the master bedroom, I huddled alone in the crawl space, counting seconds between lightning strikes and pretending the leak above my head wasn't soaking through my favourite sweater. My name is Victoria, and I've spent the last 15 years bankrolling that same lake house while watching my younger sister claim it as her personal playground. I thought about that night as I pulled into the gravel driveway yesterday, toolkit in my passenger seat. The forecast had promised clear skies, perfect for fixing the persistent leak in the roof that no one else seemed concerned about. Instead, I found 5 unfamiliar cars parked haphazardly across the lawn and the sound of laughter drifting from the deck. "Vicky!" Natasha's voice carried across the yard, artificially bright. "I didn't know you were coming today." I stepped out of my car, squinting at the gathering. I mentioned it in the family group chat last week. The roof needs work. "Oh, you know I never read those boring maintenance messages." She waved dismissively, champagne glass in hand. "We're celebrating Royal's new business venture. You should join us." Royal, my brother-in-law of 3 years, had new business ventures about as often as most people change their socks. Each one burned through more of my sister's money than the last. "I'll pass," I said, hefting my toolkit. "The leak won't fix itself." "Victoria!" My mother appeared behind Natasha, her smile strained. "Honey, maybe save the repairs for another day. Natasha's friend Callie brought her new boyfriend and he's in real estate development. You two might hit it off." I bit back a sigh. "Mum, I'm here to work." "Always so serious," Natasha pouted. "This is why you're still single, you know. All work and no play." I headed for the side entrance, but my father intercepted me at the door. "Princess, let's not have construction noise during Natasha's party. She's under enough stress with Royal between jobs." "The roof is literally leaking, Dad." "And it can leak another day." He placed a firm hand on my shoulder. "Your sister needs this. Be reasonable." Be reasonable. It was always be reasonable when it came to Natasha's needs. Be reasonable about letting her use the house for her wedding instead of my friend's baby shower. Be reasonable about covering her portion of the property taxes because Royal's last startup failed. Be reasonable about the new deck furniture she bought with the maintenance fund. I set my toolkit down harder than necessary. "Fine. I'll come back next weekend." "That's my girl." Dad squeezed my shoulder. "Why don't you head home? No sense hanging around if you're not going to join the party." I nodded and turned to leave, but realised I'd left my phone charger upstairs from my last visit. As I slipped through the kitchen toward the stairs, I heard voices from around the corner. "The realtor thinks we can get at least 800,000, my father was saying in low tones. "Maybe more if we stage it right. And it's really all for me?" Natasha's voice was eager. "The whole amount?" "Of course, sweetheart. You and Royal need it more than Victoria does. She's doing fine with her architect's salary. She won't even miss it." "But what about all the money she's put in?" My mother's voice, hesitant. "That was her choice," Dad replied firmly. "We never asked her to contribute so much. Besides, she got use of the place too. Consider it rent." I stood frozen, my hand gripping the door frame so hard my knuckles went white. 15 years of mortgage payments, repairs and taxes, nearly $200,000 of my savings dismissed as rent. For a house I'd used maybe a quarter as much as Natasha. "We'll tell her after the sale goes through," Dad continued. "She'll understand. She always does." I backed away silently, my phone charger forgotten. The party sounds seemed distant now, drowned out by the rushing in my ears. As I walked to my car, I caught a glimpse of Natasha through the window, laughing with her friends in the space I'd helped pay for, just like that night in the thunderstorm. But I wasn't 16 anymore, hiding in the crawl space, and this time I wasn't going to just understand. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't called in months. My cousin London picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hey, stranger," she said warmly. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "Remember when you said your law firm specialises in property disputes?" My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. "I think I need your help." The next morning, my father called. I watched my phone buzz 3 times before answering. "Victoria, are you all right?" His voice carried that familiar mix of concern and control. "Your mother said you left rather abruptly yesterday." I pressed my coffee mug against my lips, letting the steam warm my face. "I'm fine, Dad. Just remembered a work deadline. Good, good, he paused. Listen, your mother and I want to discuss something important with you. Can you come over for dinner tonight? I knew what was coming. The carefully scripted conversation where they'd present selling the lake house as the only logical choice. Where they'd explain why Natasha deserved the money more than I did. Where I'd be expected to smile and understand, like always. Actually, I can't tonight, but I'm free for lunch. Lunch? He sounded thrown off. Well, I suppose we could do lunch. The usual place at noon. Perfect. I arrived at the restaurant 10 minutes early to find both my parents already there, heads bent together in conversation. They straightened up when they saw me, my mother's smile a touch too bright. Honey! She stood to hug me. We ordered your favourite salad. I sat down, smoothing my napkin across my lap. Thanks, Mum. So what's this important discussion about? My parents exchanged glances. Dad cleared his throat. Well, Princess, your mother and I have been thinking about the lake house. Oh? I took a sip of water. What about it? We're not getting any younger, he continued. Maintaining 2 properties is becoming a burden. We think it might be time to sell. I nodded slowly. I see. And the proceeds? Another glance between them. Mum jumped in, her voice gentle. Sweetheart, we know you've helped with the house expenses, and we're so grateful. But Natasha and Royal are really struggling right now. So you're giving them the money? My voice was flat. She needs it more than you do, Dad said firmly. You're established, successful. Natasha's trying to start a family, and with Royal's situation... How much do you think it's worth? I interrupted. Dad blinked. The realtor thinks we can get around 800,000. Interesting. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app. And how much do you think I've contributed over the years? Victoria, Mum started. We never asked you to. $216,432, I cut in. That's what I've paid in mortgage contributions, property taxes, repairs and maintenance since I was 20. I have every receipt. The colour drained from my father's face. Now, Princess. I'm not done. I kept my voice level. I also have documentation of every time Natasha used the house. 78 occasions in the past 5 years, compared to my 18 visits in the same period. Oh, and written agreements about my partial ownership, signed by both of you when I first started contributing to the mortgage. My mother's hands trembled as she set down her water glass. What are you saying? I'm saying that if you sell the house, a significant portion of the proceeds are legally mine, and I'm not feeling particularly generous toward Natasha right now. This isn't like you. Dad's voice hardened. You've always understood about helping your sister. You're right. It's not like me. I stood up, leaving my untouched salad. That's probably why you thought you could do this without consequences. Victoria, wait. Mum reached for my hand. We can discuss this as a family. We are discussing it. I'm just finally saying my part. I pulled my hand away. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the sale. Lawyer? Dad's voice rose. You're getting lawyers involved? Over a family matter? Family matters when it benefits Natasha. Business matters when it benefits you. I shouldered my bag. I'm just playing by your rules now. As I walked out, I heard my mother call after me, but I didn't turn around. My phone buzzed with a text from London. Meeting set with Youssef Craig at 2 p.m. You ready? I typed back, more than ready. The drive to London's law firm was a blur. When I arrived, she was waiting in the lobby, her expression concerned. You look like hell, she said, pulling me into a hug. I just had lunch with my parents. Ah, she stepped back. Did they tell you about the sale? They tried. I managed a thin smile. I told them about the lawyer instead. London's eyebrows shot up. How'd that go? About as well as you'd expect. Dad turned that special shade of purple he saves for when things don't go his way. Good. London squeezed my arm. It's about time someone made him that colour. Come on, Youssef is waiting. Let's talk about how we're going to protect what's yours. For the first time since overhearing that conversation at the lake house, I felt something other than anger. Something that felt a lot like hope. Youssef Craig's office looked exactly like what you'd expect from someone who specialised in property disputes. Meticulously organised, with a wall of legal texts and a desk clear except for my stack of documents. This is impressive, he said, flipping through my files. Most clients come to me with a shoebox of receipts. You've given me 15 years of documented payments, dated photographs of improvements, and email threads confirming your ownership stake. Victoria's been preparing for this her whole life, London said, from her perch on the windowsill. She just didn't know it. I shifted in my chair. I like keeping records. You like having proof, Yusuf corrected, looking up. Smart, especially given your family dynamic. He pulled out a particular document, placing it carefully on the desk. This agreement from 2008 is particularly interesting. Your parents explicitly acknowledged your partial ownership in exchange for taking on 30% of the mortgage. Dad wrote that himself, I said. He was so proud of the fair arrangement he'd created. Fair for them, maybe, London snorted. They got a reliable source of payments while Natasha got free rein of the place. Yusuf nodded. Based on these documents, you have a clear legal claim to at least 40% of the property's value. Possibly more, given the improvements you've funded. Can they sell without my consent? I asked. They can try. He smiled thinly. But we can file a lien on the property today. That will stop any sale in its tracks until your claim is settled. London leaned forward, and if they try to fight it, they'll lose. Yusuf gestured at my files. Ms. Victoria has done my job for me. Every payment is documented, every agreement signed. Their only defence would be to claim she made these contributions as gifts, which these emails clearly show she didn't. My phone buzzed. Another text from Natasha. Dad says you're being difficult about the house. Call me. I turned the phone face down. How long will this take? I can file the lien this afternoon. They'll be notified within 48 hours. Yusuf pulled out some forms. The real question is, what do you want out of this? I paused, considering. I want them to understand what they've done. That's not a legal outcome, he said gently. I need to know what tangible result you're seeking. Do you want your investment returned? Control of the property? A forced sale with proceeds split according to contribution? London moved to sit beside me. Vic, think carefully. This is your chance to set terms. I thought about all those years of quiet resentment. The crawl space during the storm, the cancelled plans when Natasha needed the house, the way Dad had dismissed my contributions as rent. I want control, I said finally. Either they buy me out at fair market value for my share, or I become majority owner with final say over the property's use and sale. Yusuf made some notes. That's reasonable, given your documented investment. I'll draw up the papers today. They won't have enough to buy you out, London said quietly. Not if they're planning to give everything to Natasha. I know. I met her eyes. That's the point. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. Please call us, sweetheart. We can work this out as a family. Yusuf gathered the documents into a neat pile. One more thing. Once we file this lien, they may try to pressure you directly. No more private conversations about the house. Everything goes through me. They'll try to guilt her, London warned. They'll say she's hurting Natasha, breaking up the family. The family broke itself, I said, standing up. They just didn't expect me to notice. Yusuf extended his hand. I'll call you when the lien is filed. Try to get some rest. The next few days will be intense. Outside his office, London caught my arm. You okay? No. I managed a weak smile, but I will be. Want to get a drink? You look like you could use one. I checked my phone. 6 missed calls now, split between my parents and Natasha. Yes, but not yet. I need to do something first. Back at my apartment, I opened my laptop and pulled up my email. In the drafts folder was a letter I'd started and abandoned dozens of times over the years. I deleted it all and wrote a new one. Dear Mum and Dad, by now you've probably been notified about the legal action. I know you're angry and confused. I know you think I'm being selfish and difficult. But for once, I need you to listen to me. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because for 15 years, I've watched you take my contributions for granted while praising Natasha's smallest efforts. I've stayed quiet while you turned my investment into her playground. I've been reasonable while you were anything but, not anymore. All further communication about the lake house should go through my lawyer. His contact information is below. Victoria. I hit send before I could change my mind, then texted London, now I'm ready for that drink. The open house was Natasha's idea. I knew because the promotional photos on Zillow showed her signature touches. Fresh flowers everywhere, staged furniture in that particular shade of cream she loved, and fairy lights strung across the deck. She always did have a flair for presentation, even if she couldn't be bothered with substance. I hadn't planned to attend, but something drew me there. Maybe it was morbid curiosity, or maybe I just wanted to see their faces. Either way, I parked down the street and walked up just as the realtor, Xander, was starting his spiel to a small group of potential buyers. Built in 1985, this lakefront property has been lovingly maintained. He trailed off when he saw me, clearly recognizing me from my father's description of the difficult daughter. "Don't let me interrupt," I said pleasantly, joining the group. "I'm just here to look around, like everyone else." Natasha, who had been hovering nearby in a designer sundress, went pale. "Victoria? What are you doing here?" "Supporting my sister's open house, of course," I smiled. "Isn't that what family does?" She grabbed my arm and pulled me aside. "You need to leave. You're going to ruin everything. Like you ruined my plans every time you decided to use the house without asking." I kept my voice light, aware of the curious glances from potential buyers. "Besides, I have every right to be here. More right than you, actually, given how much of this place I own." "You don't own anything," she hissed. Dad says a lot of things." I gently removed her hand from my arm. "But the legal documents say something else entirely." I rejoined the tour group as Xander led them to the kitchen. "Original hardwood throughout," he was saying, "and the appliances were all updated last year." "By me," I added helpfully. "The previous dishwasher flooded the kitchen. Cost quite a bit to fix." Xander's professional smile flickered. In the living room, my father was chatting with a couple about the view, but he fell silent when he saw me. "Princess," he said stiffly, "this isn't appropriate." "Just admiring all the improvements I've paid for, Dad." I ran my hand along the new window frames. "Remember when we had these installed? $28,000 if I recall correctly. I have the receipt somewhere." The couple exchanged uncomfortable looks. My father's face darkened, but before he could respond, my mother hurried over. "Victoria, sweetheart, please," she whispered. "You're embarrassing yourself." "No, Mum. For once, I'm not the one who should be embarrassed." Xander cleared his throat. "Let's move upstairs to see the bedrooms." "Oh, the master suite is lovely," I said, following the group. "Though the ensuite bathroom needed quite a bit of work after that pipe burst last winter. Thank goodness I had emergency funds set aside, since no one else seemed to." "That's enough!" Natasha's voice cracked through the awkward silence. "You're just jealous because Royal and I are starting a family and need the money more than you do." Several potential buyers were already heading for the door. Xander pulled my father aside, speaking in low, urgent tones. "Starting a family?" I laughed. "Is that what we're calling Royal's fifth failed business venture?" "You bitter, lonely," Natasha started, but Royal grabbed her arm. "Not here," he muttered. "Not with people watching." I turned to the remaining buyers. "Just so you know, this house has a rather complicated ownership situation. You might want to have your lawyers look very carefully at any potential sale agreements." "Victoria!" my father's voice boomed. "Outside now!" I followed him onto the deck where he rounded on me. "What do you think you're doing?" "Being transparent about the property's legal status. Isn't that what you always taught us about business, Dad? Full disclosure. This isn't business, this is family. Funny how it's family when you want something from me, but business when you're planning to sell my investment out from under me." Xander appeared in the doorway, his expression grim. "Mr. Gordon, we need to talk. There's been a development, a legal filing that affects the sale." My father's face went from red to white. "What kind of legal filing?" "A lien," I answered for Xander. "Quite a substantial one, actually. You'll be hearing from my lawyer about the details." "You actually did it," my father whispered. "You're really going through with this." "I learned from you, Dad. About business, about family." I started walking toward my car, then turned back. "Oh, and Natasha?" "The fairy lights are lovely, but they're not up to code. I'd hate for there to be any liability issues, given the complicated ownership situation." As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of them in my rearview mirror, my father with his head in his hands, my mother crying, and Natasha screaming into her phone. The sight should have made me feel victorious. Instead, I felt empty. But empty was better than invisible. The family intervention came 3 days after the open house disaster. I knew it was an intervention because my mother texted asking me to come to their house for coffee and conversation, and when I arrived, everyone was arranged in the living room like a scene from a bad TV drama. "Sit down, Victoria," my father said, gesturing to the lone, empty chair facing the group. "I prefer to stand." I stayed by the doorway. "And anything regarding the lake house needs to go through my lawyer." "This isn't about the lake house," Natasha said, her eyes red. "This is about what you're doing to this family." "What I'm doing?" I laughed. "That's rich, coming from you." "You're being cruel," my mother cut in. "This isn't like you, sweetheart. No, what's cruel is planning to sell my investment without consulting me. What's cruel is dismissing 15 years of my contributions as rent. What's cruel is—" "It was never your investment," Royal suddenly shouted, jumping up. "You were helping family. That's what family does." I turned to him, ice in my voice. "Funny how in this family, help only flows in one direction. How much have you and Natasha contributed to the lake house, Royal? Besides wear and tear?" "We're trying to start a family," Natasha sobbed. "We need the money for IVF. Don't you want to be an aunt?" "Don't!" I held up my hand. "Don't you dare try to emotionally blackmail me. Not after everything." My father stood, his face tight with anger. "I've had enough of this. Name your price." "Excuse me?" "To drop the lien, to walk away. Name your price." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something I'd never noticed before. Fear. He was afraid of losing control. "You still don't get it," I said quietly. "This isn't about money." "Then what is it about?" my mother pleaded. "Help us understand." "It's about respect, recognition. 15 years of being treated like an ATM while Natasha got treated like a princess. It's about all the times I rearranged my life because she needed the house. All the repairs I paid for while she threw parties, all the—" "Oh, grow up!" Natasha sprang to her feet. "You're just jealous because Mom and Dad love me more." The room went deadly quiet. My mother gasped. Even Royal looked uncomfortable. "Natasha," my father warned, but she was on a roll. "It's true. You've always been jealous of me. Perfect, responsible Victoria. So bitter that she can't stand to see me happy. Well, guess what? I am happy. I have a husband, I'm starting a family, I have a life. What do you have? A job and a bunch of receipts?" I felt oddly calm. "I have leverage." "What's that supposed to mean?" Royal demanded. "It means the lake house isn't selling unless I agree. And I won't agree unless I get majority control." "You can't do that," my father said, but his voice wavered. "Actually, she can," came a voice from behind me. London stepped into the room, making everyone jump. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible." "This is a family matter," my father began. "I am family," London replied coolly. "And I'm also her lawyer's colleague. Speaking of which," she pulled out some papers. "These just came through. The court has confirmed Victoria's lien. The property can't be sold without settling her claim." "How much?" my father demanded. "How much to make this go away?" London smiled. "Victoria's documented contribution plus 15 years of interest comes to approximately $350,000. Or alternatively, she'll accept a 60% ownership stake with full control rights." "That's insane!" Royal shouted. "You can't." "We can and we have." London's voice was steel. "Your choices are simple. Buy her out or sign over control. Either way, Victoria's done being taken advantage of." "This will destroy this family," my mother whispered. "No, Mom." I finally sat down, facing them all. "You did that when you decided my investment meant nothing. When you planned to steal what was rightfully mine and give it to Natasha. Again." "I need that money," Natasha whimpered. "And I needed parents who valued me as much as they valued you." I stood up again. "You have 48 hours to decide. Buy me out or sign over control. After that, my lawyer will pursue additional damages." "Victoria, please," my father started, but I was already walking out. London followed me to my car. "You okay?" "No." I gripped my steering wheel. "But I will be. They'll try to fight it." "Let them." I started the engine. "I've spent my whole life fighting for scraps of attention. At least this time, I'm fighting for something real." As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Natasha watching from the window, her face twisted with rage and fear. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about causing that expression. I felt free. The first threat came from Royal. He cornered me outside my office building, his expensive suit wrinkled and his eyes wild. "You're destroying my marriage," he snarled, blocking my path to my car. "Natasha hasn't stopped crying for days." "That's close enough," I said, keeping my distance. "And you're destroying your own marriage by counting on money that was never yours." "We had plans for that money." He took a step forward. "The IVF treatments, a down payment on a house. Plans built on stealing from me." I pulled out my phone. "Back off, Royal, or I'm calling security." "You think you're so much better than us," he spat. "Perfect Victoria with her perfect career. You don't know what it's like to struggle." "Struggle?" I laughed. "I put myself through grad school while paying for your wife's lake house parties. I skipped vacations to cover property taxes while you burned through startups. Don't talk to me about struggle." He moved faster than I expected, grabbing my arm. "You'll drop this, or else..." "Or else what?" London's voice cut through the parking garage. She was standing by her car, phone raised. "I've got the last 30 seconds on video, Royal. Want to finish that threat?" He released me immediately, backing away. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is." London walked over, standing beside me. "Any further harassment, and we'll add a restraining order to the legal proceedings. Now leave." We watched him storm off, his expensive shoes echoing on the concrete. "You okay?" London asked. I rubbed my arm where he'd grabbed me. "I need a drink." At the bar around the corner, London ordered us both doubles. "Royal's getting desperate. Your father called the firm 3 times today trying to negotiate." "What did Yusuf say?" "The same thing we've been saying. Buy you out or sign over control." She sipped her whiskey. "They can't afford the buyout, Vic. Your father admitted as much." "I know." I stared into my glass. "He called me this morning. Offered his retirement fund." "What did you say?" "I told him I don't want his money. I want the house." My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Please call me. Just me. We need to talk." London read it over my shoulder. "Don't." "I wasn't going to." I turned the phone face down. She's just going to try to guilt me about Natasha's IVF treatments again. "Speaking of Natasha," London nodded toward the door. My sister stood there, looking less polished than I'd ever seen her. Her designer clothes were rumpled, her makeup smeared. "Can we talk?" she asked, approaching our table. "Alone?" "Anything you have to say, you can say in front of London." Natasha sank into a chair, her composure cracking. "Royal lost his job 3 months ago. He's been hiding it from everyone, pretending to go to work, burning through our savings. The lake house money was supposed to fix everything. That sounds like a Royal problem, not a me problem." "He's talking about divorce," she whispered. "Says he can't handle the pressure anymore. Please, Victoria. I can't lose my marriage and my chance at having children." "And I couldn't lose 15 years of my savings," I replied. "But you and Dad were fine with that." "I didn't know." She grabbed my hand across the table. "I swear, I didn't know how much you put into the house. Dad never told me." "But you never asked either, did you?" I pulled my hand away. "You just took and took and took, and assumed I'd keep giving because that's what I've always done." "Tell me how to fix this," she pleaded. "Tell me what you want." "I want what's mine. I want control of the property I've been paying for since I was 20. I want you and Royal to stop acting entitled to my investment." "But what about my..." "Your needs?" I cut her off. "For once in your life, Natasha, your needs aren't more important than mine." She started to cry, mascara running down her cheeks. "You're my sister. You're supposed to help me. I did help you. For 15 years, I helped you. Now I'm helping myself." London cleared her throat. "Natasha, if you're here to negotiate, it needs to go through proper channels." "I'm here to beg." Natasha's voice broke. "Please, Victoria, don't do this." I stood up, throwing some cash on the table. "It's already done. Tell Dad he has 24 hours left to decide. After that, we do this the hard way." As we left, I heard Natasha's sobs behind us. London squeezed my arm. "You're doing the right thing," she said. "Then why does it feel so awful?" "Because you're a good person who's finally standing up to bad treatment." She smiled sadly. "It's supposed to feel awful. That's how you know you're breaking free." The signing meeting was set for 10 a.m. at Yusuf's office. I arrived early to find my father already there, alone, staring out the window. "Where's everyone else?" I asked, setting down my bag. Your mother couldn't handle it. He didn't turn around. Natasha's not speaking to any of us. Royal left her 3 days ago. I'm sorry about Royal. Are you? Now he turned. His face aged years in weeks. This is what you wanted, isn't it? To tear everything apart? No, Dad. I wanted what was rightfully mine. You're the one who tried to take it away. Yusuf entered before my father could respond, carrying a thick folder of documents. London followed, giving me a supportive nod. Let's begin, Yusuf said, laying out the papers. The agreement is straightforward. Mr. Gordon will sign over 60% ownership of the Lake House property to Victoria, giving her controlling interest and final say in all property decisions. My father's hand shook as he reached for the pen. This house was supposed to be our legacy. It still can be, I said quietly, just not the way you planned. He signed, each stroke of the pen deliberate and heavy. When he finished, he pushed the papers away like they were poisonous. You'll get the official copies in 3 business days, Yusuf said. From this moment, any decisions about the property's use or sale must go through Victoria. What are you going to do with it? My father asked. I don't know yet. I signed my portion of the documents. But whatever I decide, it'll be my choice. For once. He stood up, suddenly looking very old. Your mother wanted me to give you this. He pulled out an envelope. Read it or don't, it's up to you. After he left, London moved to my side. Want to go see your property? The drive to the lake house felt different now. Every familiar turn, every landmark held new meaning. When we pulled up, I used my key to my house, to open the door. The interior still showed signs of the failed open house, staging furniture, empty vases that once held Natasha's flowers. But underneath was the house I'd invested in for so long. The kitchen I'd renovated, the windows I'd replaced, the deck I'd maintained. Wow, London said, running her hand along the new countertop. You really did put a lot into this place. Yeah. I walked to the master bedroom, the room I'd never used because Natasha always claimed it. I did. A noise from outside made us both turn. Through the window, I saw my mother getting out of her car. Want me to ask her to leave? London offered. No. I took a deep breath. I should talk to her. My mother looked small standing on the deck, her hands clasped tightly together. I wasn't sure you'd let me in. It's done, Mum. The papers are signed. I know. She looked past me into the house. Did you read my letter? Not yet. She nodded. I wrote about the first time we brought you here. You were 6. Natasha was just a baby. You stood on this deck and said you were going to live here forever. Mum! Let me finish. Her voice strengthened. We never meant to take advantage of you, Victoria. We just got used to you being the strong one, the responsible one. We leaned on that too hard for too long. You didn't just lean, I said. You took and took until there was nothing left to take. And then you tried to take more. I know. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Your father won't admit it, but we were wrong. So wrong. And I'm sorry. I felt my own eyes burning. Sorry doesn't fix it. No, she agreed. But maybe time will, if you let it. She turned to leave, then stopped. Natasha's staying with me. Royal emptied their accounts before he left. She could use her sister. I can't be her saviour anymore, Mom. I'm not asking you to save her. Just don't shut the door completely, please. After she left, London found me sitting on the deck, finally reading my mother's letter. The paper was stained with tears, hers, and now mine. You okay? London asked. No. I folded the letter carefully. But I think I will be. What are you going to do at the house? I looked out over the lake, watching the sun sparkle on the water. Make new memories, better ones. Want company? Yeah. I smiled at my cousin, my real sister, in all the ways that mattered. I really do. The lake house was mine now. Not a burden, not obligation, but mine. And for the first time in 15 years, I felt like I could finally breathe. The first snowfall of winter dusted the lake house in white when I heard the crunch of tyres on the gravel driveway. Through the window, I watched Natasha step out of an unfamiliar used car, nothing like her previous luxury SUV. I opened the door before she could knock. This is a surprise. I wasn't sure you'd be here. She hugged herself against the cold. London mentioned you come up on weekends now. Do you want to come in? She hesitated, then nodded. Inside, she looked around at the changes, the walls I'd repainted, the new furniture, the family photos replaced with abstract art. "It looks different," she said quietly. "That's the point." I gestured to the kitchen. "Coffee?" While I made coffee, Natasha sat at the counter, her fingers tracing patterns on the marble surface. She looked thinner, less polished, but somehow more real than I'd ever seen her. "Royal filed for divorce," she said finally. The papers came yesterday." "I heard." I placed a mug in front of her. "Mum told me about the accounts." "Did she tell you I'm working as a receptionist now?" Natasha laughed bitterly. "Me? Answering phones for $8 an hour?" "It's honest work." "Yeah." She wrapped her hands around the mug. "That's what Mum said too. Dad just keeps saying he'll fix everything like always, but he can't, can he?" "No," I said gently. "He can't." "I've been seeing a therapist." She looked up at me. "She says I have a lot to unpack about family dynamics and enabling behaviour." "That's good, Natasha." "She also says I need to make amends. Real ones, not just apologies." She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "So, I brought this." Inside was a cheque for $12,000. "What's this?" "My savings, all of it." Her voice shook. "It's not much compared to what you put into this place, but it's everything I have. I want to start paying you back." I stared at the cheque. "I can't take this." "Please." She grabbed my hand. "I need to do this. Not because Dad says to, or because Mom's crying, or because I want something. I need to do this because it's right." "Keep it," I said, pushing the cheque back. "Use it to start over." "Victoria, I'm not being noble, Natasha. I'm being practical. You need this money more than I do right now." I sipped my coffee. "Besides, I've got other plans for the house." "What kind of plans?" I led her to the living room where blueprints covered the coffee table. "I'm converting it into a vacation rental. The location's perfect, and with some updates it could generate good income." "That's actually really smart." "London's handling the legal structure. Once it's set up, the profits will be split according to ownership shares. 60% to me, 40% to Mum and Dad." Natasha studied the plans. "What about me?" "That depends on you." I sat down beside her. "I need someone to manage the property. Bookings, guest relations, maintenance scheduling. Someone who knows the house and has experience planning events." She looked up sharply. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a chance. Salary plus commission." I met her eyes. "But it has to be business, Natasha. No more family favours, no more emotional manipulation. Think you can handle that?" She swallowed hard. "I'd like to try." "Then keep your cheque. You'll need it for the property management certification course I want you to take." For a moment, she just stared at me. Then she started laughing, tears streaming down her face. "God, you're still taking care of me, aren't you? Just in a completely different way." "No," I corrected. "I'm giving you a chance to take care of yourself. There's a difference." She wiped her eyes. "I really am sorry, Victoria, for everything." "I know." I stood up. "Want to see the rest of the changes I'm planning?" As we walked through the house, Natasha asked questions about the renovation plans. Real questions, practical ones. For the first time, we were talking like business partners, not sisters trapped in old patterns. Outside, the snow was falling harder, transforming the landscape into something new and clean. Natasha paused at the door before leaving. "Thank you," she said. "Not for the job offer, but for making me see myself clearly, even though it hurt." "Sometimes clarity has to hurt," I replied. "Otherwise, we don't learn from it." I watched her drive away, then turn back to my house, with all its memories and possibilities. The past couldn't be changed, but the future was unwritten. And for once, both Natasha and I were holding our own pens.